James N. Phinney, P-H-I-N-N-E-Y. I am a New Englander, an American #1. I served a total of 10 years, 7 months, and 11 days. World War II and the Korean War. Betty and I decided that we wanted to enlist as freshmen. Our mother and father were not very happy about it. My older brother was already in, and I had already lost Paul on the Yorktown. But we convinced them that we had to go. We couldn't stay home and not go. We would feel too guilty of not being over there to try to break the backs of Japan and Germany and help save our nation. So we enlisted, and in November of my second year, sophomore year, I left school, and we went to Fort Devens and down to Camp Cross, South Carolina for infantry training, and we were placed in because we were not only intelligent but also in pretty good physical shape. I weighed 145 pounds, and most of it was muscle. We both were put into an accelerated training program. The normal training programs for infantry, for ranger, paratrooper, for special forces are 18 months each, including maneuvers. We completed all 3 successfully in 4.5 months. We were basically positioned 2,000 yards out in our Liberty ships, or the ship's transports that we took out of England. We waited in the bad storm. It was very stormy. The waves and swells were 6 to 7 feet high. 50% of everybody on all of the boats was sick, green sick, nauseated sick, on all of the boats. I was in the second wave. And we were launched from 2,000 yards up and then moved in. The first wave at 6 a.m., 6:30. At 6 o'clock, the battle started. And if you think the 4th of July celebration with the firecrackers is noisy, you should have been on D-Day. With 5,000 ships, 6,000 bombers overhead, all shelling starting at 6 o'clock, boom. And the 16 guns from the battleships alone made it so you couldn't hear yourself think. We had 200 yards of beach underwater before we reached the real beach. And in that area there were steel bars like this. There were posts probably 10 feet long, every 5 to 6 feet in 4 rows and kind of alternating, and all of them were covered with barbed wire. And all of them with mines underneath and mines on top of all of those posts. My normal weight was 145. With all the above equipment, I weighed 230 pounds before I hit the water and got wet. When we got into the water, the commander, the British commander, gave the thing that saved our life. He advised us that, we normally thought, and we had trained, stay on this side. We had trained when we were in the water, if the water was over our head, and most of it was because of the heavy, that thing's going to destroy us. The water was so hot because of the storm and the heavy waves that we were 1 to 2 feet over our heads when we got up. The lieutenant, we had a lieutenant and sergeant in charge of the 38 men in the boat, plus the 6 who joined us from the tanks. The lieutenant took off first, and he stepped with his foot into the water, and he was shot in the head, and he was dead. talk about fear. You ain't known it until you see that and see the boats around you going up when they hit the mines and the people ahead of you in the first wave getting spotted. The sergeant followed the lieutenant and went in and got up to the first barrier with all of that, but he hit a mine. It didn't kill him. He was mortally wounded. He died later. But when we got close to him, and I'll work up to that. When my time came, I was around 7 or 8, 8 and 9. We stayed close to each other. And we were told that when we get in, don't start just kicking because you won't make it, you're too heavy. Go all the way down to the bottom and bend your knees and lean forward. And look ahead for the stray bullets from the machine gun strafing. And when you see the bullets pass you, then you know you can come up. Push forward and up. Take a breath and go back down again and keep on doing that so you can get to the 200 yards of water and barricades and finally climb over those barricades, the 4 rows of barricades, without getting blown up or shot. What else did we do? When we came to a wounded man, we put him on top of us, adding another 250 pounds, and tried to take him to the shore with us, but used his body to protect us. Those were our orders. If we had a wounded first, if we had a chance, a dead one if you could not find a wounded one, but get yourself to the shore. 50% of everybody in those 2 first waves was killed. 50%. We lost over 2,000 men at Omaha alone on that day. By the end of June, we had landed 500,000 men. By the end of July, we had landed 1,500,000 men. By the end of August, we had landed 2.5 million. And by September, we had 5.5 million men. And we were fighting in the hedgerows of Normandy, which are known as one of the 3 most perfect defensive locations, terrain in the world. War goes from fear to courage and to honor and duty, which help to give you the courage. I have a duty to this. I have a duty to my country. I made an oath and a pledge when I went into the service to serve my country, to die if necessary for my country. When you have that and then you go into action all of a sudden, then something happens. You see somebody hit or somebody killed or other bad things, but usually somebody being hit, and then you get anger. And after you've had enough of anger, because the war is just steady, awful. Being frightened and going on and making sure you keep on going and kill, you got to kill them or they're going to kill you. Your anger gets worse. Your sense of duty gets worse. Your sense of motivation gets more intense. And it turns to rage. You're so mad at them. It's a hateful rage. You want to kill them to achieve your mission. And then after a while, that rage turns into the mission. And you can only go so far. You make your decisions. Some of them will be right. Unfortunately, some of them will be wrong. But you have to learn to live with the decisions that you make and leave the rest up to the Lord. Faith. Got to a number of missions. Let's take you to uh, Aachen, Germany. Our mission was to take out a major square, circular square in Aachen. It was held by the Germans, and they had 5 buildings, hotel, a couple of businesses, another hotel, and they covered the whole western side of the circle. It was the pump in the middle, it was broken. There was a bombed out tank in the middle of the square on the right-hand side. There was an old truck and a dead horse on the road in the left side. And my men, we were all trapped. They had guns, machine gunners, and riflemen, and in every building. And they had guns on top of a flat roof on one of the buildings. They had back of them in the street, they had 88 guns and 105 millimeter guns. And clearly they had us pinned down. Our job at all costs was take this, because it was a strategic 5 roads went through that square and to get to major cities. And I was going to take it at all costs. I told the guys to stay down until Benny and I worked out how we were going to take it. We were standing on the side of a building, and while we were discussing it and almost completed our discussion about what we were going to do, 20 feet in front of us, an 88 shell landed. One piece about that size came through my helmet right here in the middle of my head, went through my helmet liner, but bumped off my hard head and came out the top of my helmet. It knocked me out, and I lay down, and I was out for a minute or two. When I came to and looked for Benny, he was lying beside me, but a larger piece of shell had hit him here and taken his head off. There was my childhood friend, gone. At that moment, not hurt, not anger, but rage sets in. I don't even remember what I did. But I told my men, and they told me afterwards, that I had them spot out the windows. You're in charge of that window, you're in charge of that window, you're in charge of that, you're in charge of trying to get a grenade launcher up to knock out those guns on the top of the roof. And you all protect me, load me up with grenades, load me up with, I had my Garand M1, I had a sub-machine gun, a Tommy gun, I had my Colt 45, and I made my way while they tried to keep the Germans active and hidden as much as possible. I made my way around, took all 5 buildings, killed 48, captured 12, including a major and a captain of the SS, and we got to Aachen. I got a couple of days rest, and a month later I was told in the same battle in Aachen, about 3.5 miles away, my second oldest brother, Wim, had been killed by a phosphorus shell. I don't know if you know what phosphorus is. Phosphorus is a liquid metal, or sulfur, that when it explodes, sticks to your body. From head to foot, it hits you, and bursts into flame. The oxygen makes it burn 1,000 degrees. And my brother was burned along with thousands of others who lost their life that way.
Honor and duty, as simple as that. Love of country, honor and duty. I had to get the mission done. We weren't done.
My next to the last mission in 1945, in February 45, Eisenhower, Churchill, and Roosevelt were trying to get truth of the death camps for the Jewish people. And they did not have enough truth at that time, so my platoon and a Polish platoon were given 2 missions each for a period of almost 10 days for each mission. And we were glider flown in to do some investigation intelligence work. I went to Belsen camp and I went to Dachau camp. We landed hopefully close, about 3 miles away. They let us out of the glider, and then they took the glider back until we were done with our mission, and then we would put up a big rope, and they would pick up the glider and us on the return. But at the camps, they had camps were about a square mile in size, with hundreds of buildings, with huge barbed wire fences, with towers and lights at all times, with guards all over the sides, and with dog guards, which you had to be very careful. And we had to spend 3 days with my 18 men splitting us up, but we all saw the same, and with specially assigned photographers with long-distance lenses to take pictures of everything we could take to prove that things were happening inside of the death camps. And they were. You could smell it 5 miles away. We could see through and see the piles of dead, rotting bodies with no clothing. Piles everywhere. We could see the smoke coming out of the chimneys from the brick furnaces where they took live bodies and just threw them in. We could see the lineup of men, women, children, either with clothes or without clothes, getting ready to go into the gas chambers, where they were told they were going to have showers, but they didn't get showers, they got gas.
You can't solve every problem, and you're never going to win every battle. You have to be prepared to go through that stage of the rage, and then accepting that rage and realizing that you've done all you can possibly do, but you have to go on and continue.
We sent one man back with the information, and he got back in 5 days. The 6th day, he got the information back to headquarters. But the rest of us, as planned, and knowing that we were really surrounded, had 2 choices. If we thought our American troops would catch up with us soon enough, we surrendered. Just hope that they don't kill us and that our troops come fast enough to get us out of it. That was the same on all of our missions, all 21 missions back to the enemy line. The other choice was fight it out and get killed anyhow. So we hoped that our troops would catch up with us because we were winning at that time, and they were relatively close. They were within about 10 miles of our location. So we surrendered. They immediately shot the 3 wounded ones. And then for the next 7 days, they tortured the balance of us that we were hung by our feet, we were hung by our wrists, I was hung by my thumbs until I screamed so loud because my thumbs had dislocated that they finally took me off the thumbs and only went to the wrists and my feet, hanging upside down or sometimes arms up or thumbs up. We were beaten from head to foot. We were pummeled not only by rifle butts but by rubber truncheons. We all had ramrods up our butts. We all had electrodes to all of our genitals several times a day. We were given ice baths for an hour and a half at a time. And if you laid in an ice bath for an hour and a half, you know what I mean. It's uncomfortable. We were beaten from head to foot. They would pummel our feet sometimes for half an hour at a time. I had all trying to get information out of me. They wanted to know what we had. My men wouldn't talk, nor would I. That was our mission. By the fifth day, they started interviewing my men with me, and by that time I had a cracked neck, 2 broken clavicles, separated shoulders, the separated wrists and thumbs. I had a separated left jaw. I couldn't put my arm, couldn't walk, couldn't eat, couldn't fall. My jaw. I had a concussion. I had my left hip was dislocated, and I was black and blue from head to foot. Starting on the 7th day, when my men each individually came in front of me, they couldn't walk. None of us could walk. We were crawling or we were being pulled in. We were all hurting. They had just as many damages as I did. They would look at me and say, "Don't tell them anything, Sarge." And then they shot me in the back of the head in front of me, one at a time, until I only had one other man left. And I went into a coma. I guess my head just told me, enough of this crap. Go to sleep. And I went to sleep. And I ended up with that other one man, Tommy, who was as badly off as I was, but he was conscious, I understand. I woke up in an English, the 804th Medical Hospital in England, in a coma. I was in a coma for 45 days. When I came out of that coma, I didn't know my own name. I didn't know where I grew up. I didn't know where I was from. I didn't know where I had been. It took 7 months of rehab, not physical. I was in cast, doing things, but they didn't do anything in this side because I had so many outside things, with separations and headaches. That I was working with psychiatrists and doctors for 7 months, and they went to, I couldn't tell them anything, they didn't know anything about me, so they got to Shape Supreme High Command and got my military special force records and used them to try to get me to remember something. And by the end of 7 months, I started to remember. I remember that I had a family. I remembered who they were, I remembered where my home was, and I remembered some of my missions, but not all. Even today, I have not remembered all the places or the names. For 72 years, my guilt, by the way, the last guy, Tommy, died in my arms at the hospital after I came out of my coma. And I lost 151 men who served with me on these missions during my time over there.
and had the terrible task of writing a letter to the parents of the wife and the children of each of those men. It's not an easy task, and it pains me today. When I came home on a visit, I tried to visit each one of those. I got in time. I didn't get to some of them until after the career. But I got to all 151 families to visit and spend some time with them to try to help them to grasp the loss and know that how badly his buddies and how wonderful he had been as a service person, but not telling them the glory or the terrible thing, the way the person may have died or the wound. I can't tell you how many men I've had my arms or close to me, and I've had to help them with their Holy Marys before they died, or talk to them and try to give them a sense of calm, that God is with you, that your family loves you, that you will be okay soon. Just try to be calm when they're crying or yelling, I don't want to die. Mama, Mama. Oh God, I hurt, Mother. And they tell you tears will pop. And I never told my family or my brothers any of it. My wife didn't know any of it until I saw the movie Saving Private Ryan. Say thank you just like you did to me today. You can't imagine. I go to every Tuesday morning, the WWII Vet's up on Glen Gardner on 31. Just a vacuum store. And for 20 years or more, he's had vets stop in for a cup of coffee and just to talk. And I didn't go. The last 20 years, I wasn't there yet. I've only went the last, I think, 3 months since January. I've been going there. And I took them as a group to the Special Olympics Hunterdon County track and field meet to give the kids, as veterans, with their hats and some of them with their uniforms, their medals, and to shake their hands and to hug them. Let me tell you, it did more for those handicapped kids than anything. The veterans were crying. And before they left, we're going to get a darn troop to do this every single year. And they went back there and told their buddies, and they sat there and just like I did here at the end of it, and you came up to me. I was so moved by you kids. I could see in your faces that you were listening to me. I could feel it. That I break down. So just talking to them, trying to find out where they are, go to some of the meetings where they haven't. They have public library meetings where they are. The veterans haven't done enough of this. We've stayed too much in our shell. And we're now beginning to come out a little more. And that's a good thing. But I live in the greatest country in the world. I do not want to live anywhere else. I have a love for England and a love for Canada because of relatives and historic history. Scotland. I have a love of a lot of other countries in the world, but the only country I want to live in is America. I like those stars and stripes.